Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome to Our Issues Birmingham. My guest needs no introduction. He's John Archibald, Alabama News Group, we call him, AL.com. Welcome back, John. He knows, we've said it before, my first guest 10 years ago. And believe it or not, we're both still here, not only physically, but I'm still doing this job and he's still doing his job. So.
That's right. And as you say, I'm good for 22 minutes.
Yes, that's how long we have to talk. Or as that country song, I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. Have you heard that song?
Yeah, I wish I could claim that.
So, John, this past weekend, and I know this show is airing off schedule because we tape ahead of time, but we judged the Gumbo Gala together for the benefit of Episcopal Place, which was a lot of fun. And we got to see each other and talk outside of this environment. But as you know, John is very well recognized in his field and is a Nobel Prize winner a couple of times. And when he speaks, I think people listen, and they may not necessarily agree with him. They may not like him, but I don't think he really cares about that. I mean, you care.
The favorite thing I ever like to hear is, I disagree with everything you say, but I read you anyway. Which is, in this day and age, the best compliment you can ever get.
Well, that's like, there's no such thing as bad publicity. I think there is, but so I'm not that familiar with what's going on in Alabama when it comes to libraries, our schools, what's being banned. I haven't done a real deep dive into it because my child is grown. It's not really affecting me, and I probably need to be more proactive. But can you enlighten us on what is happening in that universe?
Yeah, I mean, it's all, the legislature is in session as we speak, and
7 days left, I think.
7 days, but that can stretch into June.
It can.
So that's a long time. And so much of the efforts that have gone on in the legislature have been essentially, culture war issues. Let's boil it down to. We don't deal with issues like, rural hospitals and the fact
that we don't have.
That we don't have, or expanding Medicaid, which would prevent those closures, or doing anything that would address the fact that we lag the nation in almost every health, welfare, and education category. So we don't deal with those.
Why are we like that?
Because it's easier to say that somebody read something they shouldn't read in a library, so that then we can turn around and say, using an old law that was designed to rid the world of video porn shops and criminalize owners of video porn shops, we should say that librarians can be charged under the video porn statute if there's something that they have in their library shelves that is deemed to be inappropriate. So now we're charging.
We're talking about criminally.
Yes,
charging
and declare the library a public nuisance as well. So these are the things that we're doing. So we.
What gives them the authority or the jurisdiction over that? Department of Education of our state?
Well, this is public and school libraries. So
okay.
Either one can be declared a public nuisance, and so we roll back the fact that you can't study certain history if it makes people uncomfortable in schools, whether that be about race,
gender,
or sexuality, or the fact that there are people who are different from the people who are passing the laws. We've in the name of freedom, we have or liberty. I guess we go after libraries and librarians. You remember we even had a situation where a book was banned in the Huntsville Library because the author's last name was gay. So
did not know that.
So yeah, so if we just do a routine search for the word gay and ban it. So, so we have, we're sitting right now not too far from Indian Springs where John Green went to school. Of course, he wrote the book, many books, Looking for Alaska being a hugely popular one, which has been banned in libraries because of, an isolated scene in which somebody walked into and saw some porn going on and then made commentary about it that was actually quite, enlightening. But, if there's something in a book that taken out of context looks questionable, then it's out.
Well, is that being driven by the parentals or by the politicians?
It's being driven by Moms for Liberty, a group out of Florida, which had a very salacious sex scandal, we might add, but that has brought it to Alabama and has gotten a lot of support from parents. Yes, and but we have yet to see the porn that they say is.
Well, pornography has been identified at the Supreme Court of the United States level.
You know it when you see it.
Yeah, essentially. But I mean, it's really hard to define in a public library setting. I can't think of anything that would fit that description, especially if it's the written word as opposed to a visual depiction.
Right. You should read the statute on the one that would criminalize librarians under the old porn law. There is more graphic language in that bill than anything I have ever seen in a library. And the level of understanding.
So the legislature, the legislative act itself is pornographic?
Oh, absolutely, it is. And there are things in there said about sadomasochism that I had no idea about. And I promise you, if that bill were to make it into an elementary school, somebody'd be going to jail.
Wow. Who's introducing that? And is it down there in these last week or so?
Yeah, it's down. It'll pass. And it's... you asked me somebody's name, and
okay,
but it's from Indian Springs.
Somebody from out Shelby County wise.
Indian Springs. I can't remember his name right now. Sorry, guys.
It's okay, no worries. So, when they talk about criminalizing it, does that cause the library itself to remove the book, or expose themselves to criminal prosecution, and then challenge it? And then it goes through the courts, and 6 years from now we have an answer.
Well, we don't know that yet. I mean, we know that there's a real chilling effect on. Well, we know that across the state there, besides this bill, there are tons of efforts that make librarians' life difficult.
Yeah.
I'm very partial to librarians because number one, they're the best readers and they know where to find stuff, and I appreciate what they do, and their lives are pretty difficult as it is. So I take it. I feel they've been under a lot of stress from protests, from firings, from laws that take the responsibility away from library people and put them in the hands of politicians. And we don't need politicians deciding what we can and can't read.
Well, I have been so enthralled in this conversation that I've totally forgotten that we forgot to go to break. So we're going to take a break, and we're going to have a real short segment coming back. This is Our Issues Birmingham. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. We have had a recent guest, Ivana Rinku, that works with you, one of your colleagues, talking about parole board, which is in some ways connected to our prison dynamic because we have people going in, but we don't have people coming out. We have COVID money that was dedicated to build some monster prison that's still not built. We have deaths occurring in prison on a regular basis. What's going on with prisons in Alabama from your perspective?
Yeah, we had $1 billion. We dedicated $1 billion to build 2 prisons, but we're only going to get 1 prison out of it. And so by the time that prison is built, our woefully overcrowded prison system is still going to be woefully overcrowded. And the federal government's, the Justice Departments under Trump and under Biden have said this is, a constitutional nightmare. You have people dying all the time. You have overcrowded prisons. You have cruel and unusual punishment. You've got extortion going on all the time, where families of inmates are extorted for money. We have all these, a complete black market and phones and drugs, and people who go in are often, come out more messed up than they did when they went in. So all of these things are going on. Everybody knows it, and nothing gets done about it. While at the same time, the parole board essentially has stopped paroling anybody.
Yeah.
And so the question is, what do we do about that in an environment in which nobody, no politician very few politicians will say, hey, this is no way to run a penal system.
But it's a practical problem. I mean, it costs a lot of money to operate a prison system.
It costs a lot of money to defend a prison system
that's being operated unconstitutionally as well.
Right. So we spend hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars to defend it.
On lawyers.
On lawyers, yeah. To defend what they agree is indefensible. And we haven't even gotten into the prison health care contract, which is another $1 billion, and is, it's kind of questionable in its own right.
Do you think that people that are watching our show don't care because they're not affected by it? It's like it's not happening in my household. I mean, it's like I see legislation, knee-jerk reaction legislation sometimes. Something bad happens, and then a law gets enacted like overnight that's a fix for that one isolated incident that has way many unintended consequences.
That's exactly what happens is an anomaly happens, something unusual happens, somebody's let out who shouldn't have been let out, sometimes even by mistake, that will generate laws that will keep people from getting out forever. I was talking to Spencer Backus, of all people, former Republican congressman, who was pushing for this bill, the second chance bill, because at a period of time back in the 70s, 80s, whatever, you could go to life in prison, things you wouldn't go to life in prison.
Well, there was a time when I was practicing law, life meant 10 years. Now life means life.
Right, and they get rid of the good time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I mean, so somebody who might be on a marijuana possession charge from 1979 or whatever, and has had priors, might be in prison for the rest of his life. And so he was pushing for this bill that under certain circumstances, you could get out. You had a chance to get out. And it died recently because there's just no political gain in being forgiving.
Yeah.
Or giving people a second chance.
The reality is that nobody wants to champion a cause that politically is unpopular to me. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. This is Our Issues Birmingham. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. We've been talking about some broken parts of the state of Alabama. Medicaid is one of my pet peeves. I find that to be just really disturbing.
The fact that we don't expand
Yeah.
to help to help us, to help the people of Alabama.
And to get a chunk of money from the federal government.
That we keep hospitals open.
Yeah. You know, that's not related to the prison issue directly, and I would like to talk about it. And while we're here, why don't we talk about it? And I'll come back and tell you, well, I'll just close with the prison issue by saying, even if we passed legislation that was intended to correct our prison problem, we are years away from having a physical building to put these people in. And so we're going to remain in this condition for years to come.
We'll start building the big one. It'll be done in a few years, and then we'll have to build another one. There's never any sort of rehabilitation that goes in. There's nothing that's going to make the state better. I would say, you say that it's unpopular and a lot of people don't care about it, but a lot of people really do care about it because as soon as their loved ones go into prison, they learn so much about why they need to care about it, because terrible, terrible things happen, and it often goes, unreported. It's hard to find out information. It's inhuman in a lot of ways, and people do care, and I do believe that people are paying more attention now than they may have in the past, because some of the stories are so egregious. It's
thanks to people like you that are writing things. I mean, body parts missing from people that are dying in prison. I mean, we act like, oh, turn the page. How was your day? It's fascinating to me. Medicaid expansion. Let's talk about that.
I mean, it all fits together. It all fits together into the notion that what's politically feasible, what's politically popular is punishing people and making sure they don't get anything for free, right? And so, and we act like if we accept Medicaid, then somebody who doesn't work as hard as me gets money or gets insurance or gets to go to the hospital. And it just seems like on meanness more than we do on need and the desire to lift the people in our state up to where they can.
We're not solution oriented.
Not unless the solution is throwing somebody away and forgetting about them.
Yeah.
And we do that.
How are we in comparison to other states?
Well, if Alabama.
Are we an aberration when it comes to not wanting to expand?
We're in the bottom 5 in every health category you can name. We incarcerate, if we were an independent country, if Alabama were a country, it would incarcerate a higher percentage of its people than any country in the world. I mean, we used to say thank God for Mississippi, and now Mississippi says thank God for us. And we can sit and talk about a lot of these things, or we could, the only large city in Alabama that's growing right now is Huntsville, and it's doing it entirely on the backs of the federal government.
How so?
I mean, the military-industrial complex of Huntsville is what's driving all the growth. And so, I mean, yet we continue to hate the federal government. We don't want to accept Medicaid. We don't want any of that. But the only part of our state that's growing is the part that's driven by that. And you've got to look around other states and say, in the South, and say, why are we not growing like that? Why is Birmingham not growing like that? Why, and there are a lot of answers to that question. But, I think we drive a lot of people away, we scare a lot of people away, and we legislate against our largest cities.
To their detriment.
To their death and detriment in some cases.
That's a sad set of dynamics.
It's not a new one, but...
You know, I'm getting old, and you are too, and
Thank you.
it's not me and you that are going to ultimately see when this implosion occurs, because it's going to happen. It can't continue in the shape it's in, although it has for quite a while.
When you first started here, how many Fortune 500 companies were in Birmingham?
That I don't know.
Probably 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I think there's one now.
I know Drummond.
Yeah, I think we're down to 1, and it hurts. And we've gotten no help from the Alabama legislature through any of it. And
So what are they doing down there this month? You know, the lottery bill, the marijuana bill. I mean, it's almost, I say marijuana, I should be more politically correct. The medical cannabis bill. We pass this legislation and then nothing happens.
Yeah,
And the lottery, the gambling. I mean, what do they do?
well, they did pass a grass bill the other day, which would make the little blue stem grass the Alabama official state grass, which is a grass that grows from here to Canada. So that's something.
Does that make you feel proud?
I love this place. You know, that's the problem. You know, I love this place.
We got great people here.
We do have great people here. We got great food, and we got great music, and we got, you know, people who make me very proud. And it's really sad to see that we end up fighting with each other on legal technicalities rather than helping each other succeed.
Thanks for being with us. You've been a great guest as always. This is Our Issues Birmingham. Have a great day and a great night, and we'll see you next Sunday.
We get it. Your mornings are hectic.
We're here to help you get ready for your day.
Good Morning Alabama on ABC 3340.
GMA doesn't waste your time.
Local weather, traffic, and news always on your screen.
So the information you need, always where you can see it, even during commercials.
Plus, we have the Good Morning Alabama live desk.
Always updating breaking news in your neighborhood and around the world.
Everything you need to prepare for your day. Good Morning Alabama on ABC 3340.